Hi, this is Terry Bean. Today in the Getting Connected series, we're going to cover a handful of big ideas for you that are going to help you start relationships off the right way. First, we're going to talk about the introduction. Secondly, we're going to cover the e-troduction. Third, we're going to move on to the handshake. Fourth, we'll talk about the importance of eye contact. And fifth, we'll bring it on home by making good first impressions. When you look at person A, talk about how you know them, what they're good at, what skills they have, and why this introduction may be beneficial to person B. You take a look at person B, you do the exact same thing. And it's possible that you may not know one of them as well as you know the other. That's okay. Not every introduction has to be an endorsement. Sometimes it's just, I know that you have this need and I know that they satisfy this need, and I want to make that introduction to get you two connected. What you do from there is completely up to you guys. And it can be just that simple. I would recommend using that format regardless of if it's by voicemail, if it's via telephone, if it's face-to-face, or if it's via email. And we'll talk more specifically about that email introduction in just a minute. Whatever you do, make sure that you're making good connections as often as possible. The more deposits you can make in that connection bank, the easier it becomes to withdraw those opportunities in the future. The introduction can take the form of many paths. You can do it over the telephone, where you call somebody and say, "Hey Jim, why don't you call Joe and introduce yourself?" That's kind of on the low end. Take it up a notch, you can do an e-troduction where you say, "Jim, I've known Joe for 5 years. He's got good skills and he's a good fit for what you're looking for. Joe, I just spoke to Jim and he has a need for your services." Or you can actually take it up another level where you're inviting the two of them together for lunch and say, "Hey, the two of you really need to meet. Let's the three of us get together and go talk about some opportunities." Or if you want to take it all the way to the top, say, "You know what, Joe, the only person you need to ever talk to about this is Jim. I'm going to have him write up the contract and you just go ahead and sign it." That is the ultimate introduction. Whatever the case may be, and however you choose to make these introductions, the more you do that, the easier it will become for you when you have to get introduced yourself. You can choose any of those paths. "Will you please introduce me to Jim so I can have the opportunity to work with him in the future?" Give them the information of why you want to be introduced, and you'll be much better off. In this segment, we're going to talk about the importance of a good handshake. You know, people really measure the character of others by their handshake. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but we do. And there are so many times that you've shaken hands with folks when you were like, "Woo, that was a horrible handshake." Sometimes you squeeze too tight on the fingers, or sometimes somebody's pumping your hand too many times, or sometimes you just don't get that good grip. Well, let me tell you what needs to happen. See this part of your hand right here? This is the web. This web needs to lock firmly with the web of the person whose hand you're shaking. The closer and the tighter you can make that happen, the better off you are. Take that to the next step. Once you've got that good grip going, pump their hand twice, maybe 3 times at best, but that's it. And then let go. Nobody wants to see how strong you are and have you crush their knuckles. Nobody wants to think of you as a dead fish who can't even barely hold their hand. Every now and again, you're going to go in, you're going to lock hands, and you're going to miss. And that's going to happen. Acknowledge it if you end up squeezing somebody's fingers or they squeeze yours. You know, to take it one step further, to make that handshake just a little bit more intimate, take your second hand and kind of pat them right above the elbow. Give them that two-handed handshake. And that makes people feel a little better about you and certainly a little bit better about themselves. Handshake when you're meeting somebody for the first time is very, very important. And I'll tell you, I'm hearing about children, and I don't mean kids, I mean young adults that aren't doing handshakes anymore. We still live in a world full of manners and couth, and executing a proper handshake is one way to be connected a lot better. Let's talk about good eye contact. It's amazing what sort of judgment we put on people based on how they lock eyes or don't lock eyes with us. Think about it. When you're talking to someone and they're kind of shifty with their eyes and they're looking all over the place, Or if you ask them a question and they look down, do you believe them? Of course not. Good eye contact is a sign of credibility, and it's a sign of trustworthiness. One of the keys is you actually want to look people right here, right at the bridge of their nose. Sometimes we have a hard time knowing which eye to focus on. Don't worry about it. You look right here, they won't know which eye you're looking at. You won't miss. We don't want to look too far through them either. Sometimes it's okay to break that eye contact. You don't want to stare at somebody for 47 seconds because they're going to start wondering what your other motives are. So look, make quality eye contact, especially when you're shaking their hand or during that first meeting, and absolutely when you're answering questions. The more you can look through them, or look at them I should say, the more credible you're going to seem, the more believable you are, and the more they'll think that you're like them. And after all, when it comes to relationships, when we think somebody's like us, we're more likely to like them. So maintain good eye contact, and it'll help you become better connected. Let's talk about making a great first impression. Here's a secret. Everyone on earth has the same favorite topic, themselves. You want to make a great first impression, let the people you're meeting talk about them. You can walk into a 10-minute conversation, speak for 90 seconds, and walk out, and they will think that you're the best conversationalist ever. Why? Because you took the time to listen to what they had to say, ask questions about it, and just let them speak. There's some real benefit to doing this. Number one is they're going to like you because you like what they like as far as they know. Number two, you're going to learn some important things while they're talking and you're listening. I've said it for a long time, you'll never learn anything new with your mouth open. Number three, you're going to get to find out what kind of person they are, because if they're done speaking and they don't offer you the same courtesy, you know you don't really want to communicate with them much in the future. And number four, when it is your time to speak, they're going to be able to really hear you and really listen to you, because they won't be busy thinking about what they're going to say next. You want to be remembered as a great conversationalist? Shut up and don't say much at all. Just listen. Let them go first, and I promise you'll be much better connected. I'll look forward to talking with you real soon. Thanks for being connected with Terry Bean.